Let's add Excel exporting to our WinGrid application. Again, just like the other exporting videos, this is just as easy. So to get started, let's locate the WinGridExcelExporter. Notice there's a 2.0 version and a 3.0 version in our toolbox. 3.0 version supports the latest Excel format, so that's the one you want to use if you want the latest Excel format to be exported. Let's double click it and add it to the form, and what we do is we'll essentially locate the Excel button that I've placed in the Microsoft toolbar and double click it, and I'll pretty much copy the same type of pattern from the other exporters. So if I add this here, so essentially the pattern is the same. You essentially declare a file, which I'm doing here. Let's just give this an appropriate extension, XLS or XLSX. If you want the latest format, then process.start, that fires it up, and then all we need to do is call the export method on the exporter. And what we do is we pass in the grid and the file. And that's basically all we do. And again, just like the other exporters, if I locate this right here, the WinGridExcelExporter, I have the events highlighted, and there's just a bunch of events as well: begin export, end export, export ended and ending, and started, formula exported and exporting, formula export error. There's a bunch of events on this that you can handle any kind of business logic to test values before they're exported, and you could cancel them, or you could test values after they're dumped, and then you could pretty much format them so that you can add your own specific font size, color, or background or image based formatting on values. And remember, again, I keep going back to, if I click on the grids events, the initialized layout, this is what you want to perform in your code in the initialized layout event of WinGrid, so you can test if it's currently an export layout that's been cloned from the original layout, and if so, whatever changes you make to e.layout and so forth after that is done to a clone of the actual display layout of the WinGrid. So you can make changes that are non-destructive to your original grid, and you don't have to worry about a thing there. So let's run this. And here's my grid with all of the data. There's lots of data in here. So let's click on Excel. And here's the Excel file. Now, one thing that we do in the Excel file that's very unique and I think is really wonderful is that we preserve the hierarchy. So I could expand these hierarchical rows just like you can in the WinGrid application. So here's the WinGrid, and I can expand these rows, and I could perform Outlook groupings, filtering, and all that fun stuff in the grid, and the actual Excel file will be exported to reproduce that same view. So this is a really cheap and easy way to add, if you want to think of it as a reporting type of functionality to your app. Just throw a grid on there, let your end users configure the grid with column chooser, filtering, sorting, and all this other stuff, and then just throw an exporter on there and do what I did, export the grid, and your end users can take this with them and have that same interaction capability as well.
Infragistics. On the web at infragistics.com.